Wars have been fought and won, life-changing scientific discoveries made, world-renowned literature, music, and art have been created, famines averted, and religions formed that have changed the course of civilization, all because people have listened to the messages of their dreams. So says Dr. Len Worley, who has trained as a psychologist and researcher of dreams for over 25 years. Dr. Worley has listened to thousands of dreams and concludes that since ancient time, the dream has been revered as a source of supra-intelligence, capable of advising humans in times of crisis and change. Yet he says, today, few people understand dreams in a meaningful way. In spite of being enchanted, entertained, and sometimes shaken by their dreams, most people fail to apprehend the dream's true intention, confused and helpless to make sense of them. But Dr. Worley says the dream, nature's evolutionary force for adapting us to our ever-changing and challenging circumstances, has not changed. It still promises unparalleled wisdom to those who will listen and discern the guiding intelligence that seeks to make contact with us. Join me as I interview Dr. Worley, learning about common misperceptions that people unconsciously carry that often inadvertently blind them to the wisdom and guidance dreams offer. Before we are done, you will learn to better remember your dreams and listen to them without prejudice, allowing their wisdom to become apparent. Thank you for joining me, Len.
Jordan, thanks for interviewing me.
So I've seen on your website that you've written an article about common misperceptions that steal the truth of your dreams. I'd love to ask you what inspired you to write that article.
Well, this goes back probably 25 years ago. I already had my PhD in counseling psychology and had been a psychotherapist for several years, and it was not until I went into a personal crisis that I got interested for wisdom outside the psychology that I knew. And I eventually found my way to a woman that opened dreams for me. Even though I had been interested for many years, I had never found a meaningful way to understand my own dreams, even though I intuited that they contained wisdom. When I finally found the woman who became my mentor, I actually was astounded at the wisdom coming through. In fact, I remember in my early days of doing work with her that I realized, wow, this is like having two therapists. The dream is its own therapist that seems to know me far better than I know myself, diagnosing the problem from a very different perspective, and more than that, giving me unexpected solutions. That completely fascinated me. And it opened up a marvelous, strange, enchanting world. And then I tracked my own dreams. Like you said earlier, I've now heard thousands of dreams when I total up mine and the dreams of clients that I've had over the years. And I've realized that in spite of having this wisdom presented to us every night, we dream on the average at least 2 hours a night. Most people take very little time to remember their dreams, and if they do, they fail to have a meaningful understanding of them. When you look back in the history of civilization, dreams have changed really cultures, from the founding of religions, to wars being fought and won, to great literature being written, music created, social change instigated because of dreams. And the question is, why is it that most of us are failing to understand our dreams in a meaningful, life-changing way? Well, I think there are common misperceptions that most of us hold, not even aware that they're assumptions. But these misconceptions actually steal the truth of a dream. So I've listed several on my website. Would you like to go through some of those?
Of course. So one of the dream misconceptions that you mentioned was the pressure valve theory. What does that mean?
Well, Freud still has a great influence on how we think about dreams. It was his understanding is that dreams serve the function of helping to relieve tension of unsatisfied desires, and in particular sexual desire or aggression. So if we're angry at someone we can't take it out on, or if we're attracted to someone we can or fear approaching, then this creates pressure inside. And that dreams serve the function of living out these aggressions and fantasies, you see. Mm-hmm. But this posed a lot of problems because Freud thought, well, wouldn't living out these things that are against a person's morals, what he called the superego, wouldn't this cause the dreamer to wake up, right? Because the dreamer was violating his or her own morals. And so Freud developed the idea that there's something in the psyche that will convert these desires and these fantasies being acted out and disguise them. Mm-hmm. And so he said that's why dreams seem foolish or difficult to understand, because they're actually a disguise for acting out your aggression and sexual desires. So today, most people still have this idea that somehow dreams are revealing your hidden, unacceptable desires. Now, Carl Jung, who was a colleague of Freud, but had a very strong disagreement, and they broke apart at some point, disagreed with Freud primarily over this issue. He said that dreams were simply a part of nature. And nature had no desire or intention to deceive us. It was just being nature. And for Jung, dreams were far more than just the place where there are hidden desires being acted out. That it's dreams are a force of nature trying to change us so that we're more adapted. We become more skillful and intelligent in how to live our lives, you see. So the dream then, for Jung, takes on, you might even say this sacred intention that is far more than just a place where you can act out your fantasies in secret.
So what is at stake if I'm to think of a dream as something that is a safe place for me to kind of satisfy these desires that are taboo?
If you think that's what the dream is, if that's your conception, well, you're missing what the dream is. The dream is far more than that. I understood the meaning of dreams, the purpose of dreams, when I visited Cape Canaveral many years ago at the Space Center. Mm-hmm. And I saw for the first time where astronauts are trained. And of course, they're not trained right in outer space. They're trained on the ground in these facsimiles of the cockpit, and they're exposed to many different situations that potentially they'll face in outer space. And they learn, they obviously make mistakes, and they learn, right, from their mistakes. And essentially, I think that's what dreams are doing. They're exposing us to many different situations, many of which are disturbing. And in fact, we know that about 2/3 of our dreams are disturbing dreams, right? If you understand what the lessons are that you're being taught, what skills the dreaming intelligence is trying to equip you with, then you can progress through difficulties and evolve your own intelligence much more rapid.
So dreams, according to your interpretation, and which is informed by Jungian psychology, is that right?
Right.
They're kind of a training ground for life, almost. So your own private Cape Canaveral.
That's a great way of saying it. And, humans are not the only ones that dream. All mammals dream. You can probably remember seeing a dog at some point running in its sleep, right, as if chasing a cat. Or, but now we know that dreams serve quite an intelligent purpose. If you stop people from dreaming, like during what is called the REM, the REM period, rapid eye movement period, which is when we're dreaming the most. For instance, people who are learning a language who are not allowed to dream can't learn it as quickly. So we know that dreaming consolidates learning. And Jung had an eye for this. It's not just a place where hidden desires are acted out, but because if you look into the animal kingdom, as far as we know, animals don't have superegos and consciences, right? And so when you consider that the dream is more than acting out hidden desires, then you ask the question, well then, what is it trying to teach me? You see.
So the pressure valve theory, it steals the truth of the dream because it doesn't allow you to see the dream as an instructor. It's merely kind of a...
Yeah, you never ask the question, what is the dream's purpose? What am I to learn from this encounter with the angry dog in my dream that I walked by on my way home last night?
It's interesting. So you mentioned that about 2/3 of our dreams are disturbing. And most people believe that bad dreams are to be avoided. They're a bad thing in their lives. Bad dreams are bad for you. Is that also a misconception?
Well, yeah, and this is how most of us behave towards difficult dreams. I mean, I've been following my dreams in a meaningful way for over 25 years, and I still don't like having disturbing dreams. It's unpleasant in a way, especially when you know that you're being warned or corrected. It's a humbling process to know what your dreams mean, which I think is one reason that we don't really remember our dreams so well, because at least 2/3 of the time, I would say, the dreams are there to show you what you're doing wrong, for the purpose of helping you realize how you can do life right and better, and thus be happier and more successful.
So bad dreams tell us what we're doing wrong.
Well, not necessarily. Let me illustrate a series of dreams that were difficult for me, that I considered, oh man, these are bad dreams. And it happened years ago. I had just bought a car, a Volvo, after many years of driving the old VW Bugs, right? The motor was in the back. They were probably one of the unsafest cars on the road. And I was a poor student going through graduate school, and that's how I made it. I bought one after the other. So I finally graduated and had enough money to buy a bigger car, and I saw this advertisement about Volvos, and there was a huge crane that would lift a dump truck and place it right on the roof of a Volvo to demonstrate how strong it was, right? That it wouldn't cave in. And I saw this and I said, that's a car that I need after driving 3 VW Bugs. So I bought a white Volvo sedan. And I think it was about a year or two later, I had started doing dream work, and I had this very disturbing dream of coming back from an out-of-town trip on a train. And in the dream, I walk from the train station into the parking lot to get my car, and I see my Volvo with the roof torn off. And then I look to see who was responsible, and I see this young, maybe 10-year-old inner city kid running away. And in the dream, I knew that he had torn the roof of the Volvo off with his hands. And I was incensed. And then I woke up. I didn't know why, but not only was I angry, but I was very disturbed about the meaning of this. This Volvo that is, to me, was a symbol of safety, was being destroyed by some force. Sometime later, I had another dream, and I was in a jungle, like the thick rainforest. That's how the dream opens, and I'm coming to a clearing, and all of a sudden I see, like in a South American rainforest, my white Volvo. Only it has vines growing over it, it's beginning to rust, and nature's beginning to take it over. And I wake up frightened. I'm still not quite sure of the meaning of the dream, and then maybe a couple of weeks later, there's a third Volvo dream. This time, I see the seashore, and there's my Volvo right at the edge of the water, and the tide is coming in and beginning to lap around the wheels, and I can tell it's going to be taken out. And again, I wake up frightened. Now, these dreams probably, these three, were some of the most useful dreams of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. At first I thought, well, is it time to find a new car? Or is it predicting an accident that I'm going to have, right? But there's a technique in dream work, a method where you distill the essence of a dream image, which means that you begin to ask, what are the particular qualities that make this image unique? And I asked that about the Volvo. What's distinctive about a Volvo? And then I remember this advertisement. It's secure. If you ride in it, you're safe, right? In a sense, you're invulnerable, almost, right? And you're closed in, and that was my orientation in life, psychologically. But the dream was saying, in retrospect, you're too safe. You're too invulnerable. And like this young 10-year-old inner city kid who destroyed the roof with his hands, that's the way of life, because look at how he lives his life. He has to be savvy. He has to depend upon himself moment to moment in order to survive on the streets, right? That's a wisdom or intelligence for living your life, not going through life with a high value on safety and being invulnerable, right? And then I realized what the dream was announcing. It was time for me to develop parts of my personality that never got developed early on in my life. And I was raised to be very good, follow the rules, be careful, don't make mistakes, because there's a lot of shame for making mistakes. It's not like how this 10-year-old grew up, I'm sure. You might say that he was a side of me coming to rescue me.
The child in the dream.
The 10-year-old, yeah.
And the ocean and the jungle.
Exactly, exactly. Nature was coming to save me from myself, from my orientation, you see. So what appeared at first to be a bad dream was these were the best things in the world for me. And once I caught the meaning, then I started taking more risk in my life. And when I remember I would be faced with a decision, of doing this or that, and ordinarily I'd pull back and take the safer route, I started saying, no, let me think about this. I want to take more risks, and emotionally as well, not just be distant and emotionally controlled. So it led to many changes in my life.
Good changes.
Many people, well, yeah, and necessary changes. So this is a crucial issue because people coming home from war with post-traumatic stress disorder have disturbing dreams. People who've had any kind of trauma usually have disturbing dreams. And the tendency is that we want to shut these off, you see, because they are so disturbing and frightful, terrifying. But it seems that nature itself doesn't want us to cut off from any difficult experience. It doesn't want us to forget. It wants us to learn, especially from the most painful situations we've gone through, so that we can develop wisdom and more skill, and thus ultimately benefit from tragedy so that we're more adapted the next time we face similar circumstances. And even though it's unpleasant, it seems to be one of nature's ways of evolving us, to keep pressing us like in the dream. We can ignore it maybe in waking life, but in the dream, when our egos are less in control, the dream presents us with situations that we have to face. But it's because something loves us that it's giving us these difficult encounters. Dreaming intelligence loves us and does not want us to skip over something vital for our wholeness and for being most adapted.
So bad dreams are opportunities to evolve. That's how I...
Exactly. What we call bad dreams is nature's loving intention to rescue us from a short-lived life, from a life that's cut off and not open to full feeling. Yeah.
Wow.